Welcome back to the Mike and Andrew Show. I'm Andrew Serwick here again with Mike Meredith. Mike, it is a Thursday afternoon. I don't know how the weather was for you guys up there in Michigan today, but it was pretty damn nice here today. But how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it's actually been pretty nice here.
Yeah, nice, beautiful. It's finally spring. It finally
I
feels
know.
like spring should feel like.
Time, time for you lazy motherfuckers to get up and get out there, man. I know some of y'all got to get out there, man. It's summertime. Go out there and get that activity up.
Yeah, go out there, go talk to,
Touch grass.
go touch grass, go talk to women, go hang out with friends. And then listen to our podcast, of course, because we definitely want that as well. But let's get into it, man. And we're going to talk NFL schedule, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But before we get into this topic, I'm just going to bring up something real quick NHL-wise. Thatcher Demko is back for the Canucks, so good luck, Edmonton. So, anyways, let's talk a little bit of baseball, and I want to talk specifically about the Tigers. Now, I know we don't want to do. I mean, we're from Detroit, but we don't want to do only Detroit topics. But this is just something that it needs to be talked about because I don't think it's getting enough national attention. It's barely getting any local attention in Detroit because for some reason everyone thinks that the Tigers are still in 1984 and they just won the World Series so they can do whatever the hell they want. But let's just talk about this. The the Tigers have just been shut out by the Marlins 2 games in a row now. They dropped the series 2-1 to the Marlins, who have absolutely no pitching staff. I mean, they have one of the worst pitching staffs in the league. Okay, the Tigers, on the other hand, have a top five. Some would maybe even argue top three pitching staff. That's starting rotation and bullpen. They have a top five pitching staff, but they have no run support at all. They just dropped, very low scoring for the Marlins games. They just dropped 2-0 yesterday, but the 18 shutout innings for the Tigers. 18 by
Dude,
by
I
one of
know.
by a bottom five pitching staff.
It's
It,
ridiculous,
it,
bro. Like this offense is so dead, bro. Like Riley Green's had a solid year. He's actually been like our best hitter. Torkelson's been just hot and cold. He just has not been it this year. A lot of our other guys, Javi Baez is struggling. Um, just we did this last year too. It feels like the last few years, just like our offense will just go ice cold. No one will be able to do anything. Tarik Skubal's like the only bright spot right now, like putting up these Cy Young numbers, and even him like getting no run support. It's so sickening, bro.
I mean, you think like last night it was it wasn't Reese Olson, was it? No, it was Casey Mize last night started. He said he made a mistake that gave the Marlins 2 runs, but the problem is that he still didn't wasn't the one that lost the game for the Tigers. Yeah, he made a mistake, but at the end of the day, he still had a very very good outing. It's I don't know what the hell is happening, but the the biggest problem for me, I think, is the fact that Chris Ilitch, he had Miguel Cabrera come off the books. Got a whole bunch of guys that haven't done anything for this team except for maybe Jack Flaherty. He might be the only bright spot of the offseason acquisitions that the Tigers made, but they're spending less money than they were last year. They're spending a lot less money than they were last year because Miguel Cabrera isn't there. But the fact that you didn't even bother going out there to get an actual MLB bat because this team doesn't have a single one on it, it just pisses me the fuck off that Chris Ilitch he doesn't want to spend the money. He doesn't want to invest in this team. Lord knows he doesn't want to invest in the fucking park. We got a scoreboard. Who gives a fuck? Make the team actually good, and we can, then talk about scoreboards. But it's just like it's just frustrating as a fan to see all this great pitching that we have right now go to waste. If we had 2, 3 actual bats in this lineup, the Tigers could be one of the top teams in the league right now. just because they would actually have some run support for this elite level pitching. I mean, they still have the number one bullpen, and the starting rotation outside of Kenta Maeda, who's been dog shit, has been really, really good. I mean, the lack of run support is the biggest problem for this team, but no one cares. No one reports on it. You don't see an article in the Detroit Free Press about this, and this is where I'm like, Detroit is a great sports city. It is a very, very, very terrible baseball town because the media doesn't care. They're kind of just like Bally Sports on everything, just like yeah, we'll take all these moral victories that don't actually matter. The fans don't seem to care that they're bad. I mean, part of that might be to do with the fact that the Lions are just so good, but it's like they're still it's been 40 years since this team has done anything, and everyone's acting like they just won the World Series 2 years ago. It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, I know. It's just been so incompetent the last 10 years, man. Like, we had such a good team, such a good run, so many opportunities, and we've just been in rebuild for basically 10 years. It's basically the Pistons that just been in rebuild, not getting better for 10 years.
Yeah, it is exactly like it, and it's getting to the point where even with the Red Wings, because it's the same ownership, he's not willing to go up to the cap for spending in the NHL, which is kind of alarming. But I just don't see why he's not spending the money. He's got a ton of it. He just wants to keep making more money, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, no one's saying to for him to sell the team, but they're sure as hell telling Pistons ownership to sell the team. Why can't we get that passion for the Tigers? That's what I want to know about more so, because I want Chris Ilitch to sell the fucking team. It's never going to happen now, but I would love for him to sell the team, because maybe then we could actually get fucking winning baseball out of this team, especially with this pitching staff that we have currently.
Yeah, I totally agree. That just sell a team, bro. Just get some new ownership in here.
Do something. Spend money. I mean, if Mike Ilitch was still alive, he would beat the ever living fuck out of his son for doing the shit that he's doing. Like there is a reason why Mike Ilitch never let Chris Ilitch take over when he was still alive. It's because he knew his son would probably do some stupid shit like this, and this is the fucking product that we get. I mean, it's just ridiculous, man. I mean, and the fans just don't seem to care. It's like I said, a lot of fans I see are just like, oh well, what if we signed a guy and they were bad? Who cares? At least make the effort. That's all I want, is effort out of this fucking organization, and we're not getting any. And it's just frustrating to watch because they are not putting in any effort to get this team better. And everyone's also saying, well, but outside of well, what if they were bad if we signed them? Okay, who cares? If they weren't bad, at least you made that effort, right? Then the other thing is what about the prospects? Well, who cares when you draft them all out of high school? That's going to be 5-6 years down the road at the very bare minimum till you see them. So who gives a shit at that point? The prospects mean nothing if they're not here doing something.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. It's just I miss the Tigers of old. I miss being able to come home from school and watch Tigers baseball, or even catching a game like midday, like on a Saturday. It was just such a different feeling, bro. That team, like, you were excited to see them play. You knew they were going to make the playoffs. You knew that it was going to be a fun, energized environment. Now it's just like we get our hopes up at the start of the year because we're like, okay, we made some moves. We got some young guys who can make something, and then like one or two pan out, and the rest just end up failing.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're trying to sell me on Jack Flaherty, Kenta Maeda, and fucking Mark Canha. None of those helped this offense at all. Maeda has been fucking dog shit all year. Flaherty's on that. He's on the trajectory to have a bounce back after the past couple of years of really, really struggling. And I think part of that has to do with just the Tigers' pitching coaches are phenomenal, because I mean they were able to turn Eduardo Rodriguez into what he was last year. I mean, being a very mid pitcher in Boston to then being, very dominant last year or the last couple of years, really. But yeah, it's just the lack of effort, the lack of bats, and I don't know what's going on. Torkelson is afraid to swing at a fastball right down the middle. Javi Baez is, well, he's Javi Baez. There's enough. We don't even we dude will swing at anything except for a pitch down the middle. And when he does swing at those, he swings about a mile above it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's just so frustrating as a Tigers fan. I feel like we just wanted to talk about this, bring it out into, to the open, because it's just frustrating to watch. But hopefully, something changes and the guys can get the bats going or something. But yeah, I mean, Torkelson's been moving down the lineup a lot, and it's just, yeah. But maybe we have to trade a very elite pitcher that we have for a bat. I would love that, but I don't see it happening any fucking time soon. But with that out of the way, now we're gonna talk NFL schedule that got released last night. Mike, we're gonna do kind of a by the numbers thing. I'm gonna give you a number, and you're gonna kind of guess what that number is supposed to represent. And then if you get it right, I'll let you know, obviously. And if you get it wrong, or if you want to keep guessing until you just give up, whatever, I'll let you know what the answer is. So let's get into it here. I'm gonna give you this first. So 2 teams, 17 games. What do you think this means?
2 teams, 17 games. So, remind me again what I'm guessing on here.
So you're going to kind of guess, what do you think this number specifically means about the schedule? I'll give you a hint. So one of these teams is on one end of the spectrum of 17 games. The other team is on the opposite end of that spectrum. So, I don't want to necessarily give that away, but does that help you at all?
Yeah, so like, are we talking about a team that's going to win a lot of games and then a team that's going to lose a lot?
Yes. Well, that gets you closer there.
We talking about like a 17-0 versus 0-17 type situation?
Getting warmer, but not exactly.
Huh. Man. So you said 2 teams, 17 games. Huh.
All right, I'll tell you. One of these teams is favored in all 17 games. One of these teams is an underdog in all 17 games. You got any guesses for either of those teams?
Okay, so favored in all 17. Wow, who could that be? I don't think it's going to be Kansas City. Is it Kansas City?
No, it is not. It is an NFC team.
NFC 49ers?
That is correct. And who do you think is underdog in all 17 games?
Ooh, this is a tough one because, I mean, is it going to be Carolina?
It is Carolina. They're an underdog in all 17 games. Now, I guarantee you they're going to win at least one game. It's very hard to go 0-17 in the NFL, just like it is to go 17-0. In fact, I'd even argue it's harder to go 0-17 than it is to go 17-0 in the NFL. I honestly, truly believe it's much harder to lose every single game than to win every single game. These guys are professionals. They're out here trying to kill each other, injuries, sort of, all that stuff. Sometimes you get lucky in these games. So, here's one. The number 9. Just number 9.
Mm-hmm. Number 9. I'm going to guess that this is the wins that they think Pittsburgh is going to have.
No, actually, I think that would be correct, but no. It is playoff related.
Ooh, playoff. Just the number 9.
Yep, just the number 9, and it's playoff related.
Is it that the lowest team in the playoffs will have 9 wins.
Not quite. No.
Uh,
Think about what the Lions have in the first 2 weeks of the season and when they played those teams most recently.
They just played the Rams and the Bucks in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they're playing them again in the regular season.
Uh-huh.
There's 9 playoff rematches this entire season.
Wow.
9 of those.
Okay.
So we have the Ravens Chiefs Thursday night opening off. We have the Lions and Rams facing off on week 1. Lions and Bucks facing off in week 2. The Lions will also play the 49ers later on in the season. I forget what the other one I saw earlier was, but there's some pretty big matchups in the playoffs, man. It's going to be very, very interesting for that. So, give you the number 0.
0. Does this have to pertain to wins?
It has nothing to do with wins or losses. I will tell you, it does have something to do with a team that's not favored a whole lot in most of their games, or maybe all of their games.
Is it like scoring 0 points in a game that they think this team's going to score the most, or have 0 the most times?
No, it's not that. It is amount of prime time games for a specific team.
Ooh, who has 0? So it's not Carolina?
It is Carolina. They're the only team this year without a primetime game.
Yeah, I mean, if they're expected to lose in every game, why would you want to put them on prime time?
Exactly. And what's interesting about that is the Lions have a ton of primetime games this year. I believe six games are primetime for the Lions, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the NFL realized that the Lions are just such a marketable team that, like, they're gonna put them on everything now. Now that they're actually, like I said, so marketable and actually winning.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is like the 2008, 2009 era Lions, right around that range. They had no primetime games. They were all 1 o'clock games, and Carolina has a few 4 o'clock games, but most of the games are 1 o'clock. So, that's saying something. But no, that's just the way the NFL works, right? If you're a very good team and you're expected to be a very good team, you're gonna get those highlight games, those Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night games, and it is really, really interesting because I saw a lot of players hate Thursday night games, especially because they have short weeks with them. You play a game on Sunday and you're staring down the barrel of a Thursday night game, and it ain't fun. Now, granted, you get some extra rest if you play on that Thursday game heading into the next week, but it is not great. But that's really all I got for the by the numbers sort of deal for you. But so let's just talk now. Obviously, San Francisco's favored in all 17 games, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think anyone's going to get close.
No.
I don't think anyone's going to get more than 14 wins this year. Just the way the NFL works, right?
Yeah.
But real quick, what is your prediction for the Lions?
Lions, for some reason, I think that they go 12-5 again. I think that they still have over a 10-win season. They probably could win 13 or 14, but just very unlucky situations. I mean, look at last year. Should have won against Dallas. What other games could we have won that we lost last year? I mean, we played horrible against Green Bay the second time around on Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm struggling thinking of more, but yeah, just um, I think that 12-5 is going to be around where they're at. Maybe a 13-4. Um, I don't see them losing more than I don't see them being any worse though than 10 wins. I think they for sure get to 10-7 or better.
Yeah, I think their floor is 10-7. I think their best is 12-5 though. I don't
Ooh,
maybe
you don't see them getting
maybe
13?
maybe 13-4, but I think
Tough because they got
yeah,
Houston, they got 49ers.
and
Yeah, they got
I
some tough
think
teams.
it just playing the schedule game. I think the Lions are going to lose to Houston. I think that could be a game the Lions could lose because I believe that's on the road if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and here's the other thing, and people are gonna make fun of me for this. Don't sleep on the Bears this year. Don't
I
sleep on the
know.
Bears this
For
year.
real.
They are gonna be
The Bears
really
the
good.
Bears could take a game. Yeah.
I
I think the
think the Lions
Bears
split with the Bears.
I think the Lions split with the Bears and the Packers, and I think that they beat Minnesota both times, but I think that they split with the Bears and the Packers. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think yeah the Lions will split with the Bears and the Packers. Now, if Caleb Williams is total horseshit, then yeah, I could see the Lions beating the Bears twice. But if he's good, I mean, yeah, I see the Lions losing the road game to Chicago. Um, one other team that I really want to talk to you about is
Mm-hmm.
obviously you're a Chargers fan, so I want to talk to you about them.
Yes, sir.
Um, how many wins are you thinking that you're going to get out of this team, man?
And I have no clue right now because they're so tough. They lost like all their receivers. They drafted Joe Alt, so I mean their offensive line is going to be solid. Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, like at the tackles, they're going to be protecting Herbert. Herbert's going to have time. I feel like it's just a matter of can his receivers catch because I don't trust their receiving core. Harbaugh's coming in. I'd like to hope that they can get around 500, that they can be 8-9, 9-8 on the optimistic side. I'm gonna go 8. I'm gonna go 8-9. I'm gonna hope that they somehow figure it out, get clicking, and get close to that 500 mark.
Yeah, I think realistically they're probably going to go 7-10. Um,
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
sounds about right.
so I mean you're their first two games are pretty much gimmies. I mean, you got the Raiders and the Panthers week 1 and week 2.
Yeah,
And then they got to play the Steelers on the road. That can be 50-50 there. Chiefs at home. That yeah, that's gonna be L. Then they got a
yeah.
week 5 bye, just like the Lions, and that's one thing I hate personally. I don't want to have a
I want the
bye.
bye later.
I want the
Later
bye
in the
either.
week.
I want it week 8 or later. I don't want a bye before week 8. And I mean, even now with the 17 game schedule, probably not till week 9 at the earliest. But I mean,
Yeah, you want to like right in the middle.
right? You want it in the middle or the last couple slots for bye weeks. Um, Cardinals on the road week 7. That's a toss up. So's
Yeah, the
Bronx.
Cardinals got a lot better.
Yeah, the Cardinals did get a lot better this year. Broncos got somewhat better. Um,
I
the
don't trust the Broncos
I don't
QB
I don't either.
situation.
I don't either. I mean, Bo Nix is good, but is he even gonna start? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. Browns on the road. That's gonna be a loss.
yeah.
Titans at home. That should be a win for them. Bengals at home.
Ooh,
If Joe Burrow's healthy,
Burrow.
if Burrow's
Yeah.
healthy, yeah, that's probably going to be a loss there. Ravens at home on Monday night though, week 12. That's going to be a very interesting game because I don't think the Chargers are going to really stand up in that game. Falcons on the road. That one's probably going to be a loss just because the Falcons I think are going to be really really good this year. I think they got a lot better, except for the fact that they took Michael Penix in the first round, which was why? Just why?
Still like might be the most dumb first round draft pick ever.
Yeah, I mean, at least the dumbest this side of 2020.
Yeah, because like I mean, if it comes out that Michael Penix is a superstar, then we won't be saying it's done. But for the time, for positional needs, it might be like the last thing they needed was a QB. They took a QB.
Right, and that's the thing. If Penix is better than Kirk Cousins, which I expect him to be, I mean he ain't gonna be starting week one, that's for sure. But maybe it was an insurance in case he injures that ankle again. But I don't know, man. Drafting a injury prone QB for a QB that's coming off an Achilles, oh boy, that's gonna be tough. But yeah, I could see, you know, at the bare minimum, I think the Chargers are going to get 7 wins here. I think the Chargers are going to be a very interesting team this year. I think they are going to get better. Jim Harbaugh's there. Herbert has some damn good protection now. Although they have already a really good left tackle, I wonder if they're going to do what the Lions did with Penei Sewell and put Joe Alt at right tackle for his first couple years, just like they have with Sewell, waiting for Decker to retire so Sewell can jump over to left tackle. Do you think that's probably what's going to happen in LA there?
Yeah, I could see that. It's just I really like both Slater and Alt. I do think Alt will be the better talent. Like I've been seeing the memes, like Joe Alt looks like a guy. Like, I mean, even his name, Joe Alt, he looks like a 10-year, 10, 15-year Hall of Fame tackle. Like dude's gonna be on his business. He ain't gonna cause no trouble. He gonna do his thing.
He's a Jim Harbaugh guy too. I mean, he is a
Yeah.
big dude. And he plays the style of football that Jim Harbaugh absolutely loves. Ah, man, he's gonna be so fucking good in this league, man. I mean, he's probably gonna stay at left tackle. They're probably gonna put Alt at right tackle. That's just what I think. It'd be the smarter thing to do. I mean, that's what the Lions have done with Sewell, and it's worked out damn well. And as soon as Decker's gone, Sewell's jumping over to left tackle anyways. So, yeah, it's really gonna work out. But who do you think is going to have the best record in the league? We already know who both of us are choosing for worst record, and that's obviously Carolina, right?
Yeah.
But best
Best
record.
record that tough because I mean Kansas City was underestimated last year. A lot of people thought they'd fall off record wise. I mean, well they only finished as the third seed. You got Baltimore who's gonna be up there. You got San Francisco. Um Man, this is gonna be tough. I'll probably lean towards San Francisco, but I could see San Francisco not being the number one seed. I don't know who would take it from them in the NFC, but I don't feel as strongly about them as I did even just last year.
All right, everyone's going to be calling me a bad Lions fan for this, but I think the Packers might win the NFC. Well, not might win the one seed in the NFC this year. The Packers are going to be scary good this year. Jordan Love stepped up halfway through the season last year and didn't let down. I think he's going to continue that, and they got better everywhere this offseason too. I think the Packers are just as good, if not even better, than the Lions this year because they just made such great improvements, and Love is only going to get better.
Yeah, I think so as well.
But as far as best record, I think Green Bay can get up there. I think definitely San Francisco and obviously Kansas City, but maybe Baltimore can challenge them this year. I mean, it's going to depend a lot on how they utilize Derrick Henry, I think. But outside of that, I mean, I think the AFC is going to be locked up between those two. It's going to be tight there. But overall record in the league, probably I'm leaning towards either San Francisco or Green Bay just because I really like the way Green Bay's offseason has gone so far.
They did really good, man. I mean, they came out. If Jordan Love plays like he did the last half of the season, I mean, it's totally possible they get the number one seed.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting the Lions to win the division this year like I was last year. I think last year the Lions were the clear, best team in the division, and obviously that came true. This year, I mean, it got a lot tougher. Chicago got a lot better. Green Bay got a really, really good amount better. It's going to be a tight race between the Lions and the Packers. I'm not saying that the Packers are absolutely going to win it. I think the Lions definitely still can. but I think the Packers are going to be no joke this year. So, in that sense, I think the Lions also could be in conversation of winning, or at least having a shot at that number one seed. And I think part of that might also hinge on that matchup with the Niners late in the season.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too.
So that is gonna wrap us up though tonight, man. Um, Tuesday we're gonna talk more NHL, NBA playoffs. We have a lot more, quite a few more games left in all the series. The ain't no series gonna be done in 5 games now in the NHL. So that's fun. But yeah, no,
NBA,
yeah, NBA too.
yeah,
NBA is gonna be.
Boston advanced.
Yep.
So they're the only team that's advanced so far.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
really are the only team because I thought Florida the other night was going to win it, but Boston ended up winning. I think that was last night actually. Now that I think about it, but um, yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting stretch. So yeah, Tuesday we're gonna talk all NHL, NBA. And that's pretty much gonna be it unless something big comes up. But outside of that, man, yeah, we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing. So rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you want to see more of. Check out our YouTube page, of course. Let's keep just growing this thing, man, because we're picking up listeners. Just keep sharing that pod, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.